Product manager at Wayfair. I work on the talent acquisitions product team. We've been helping Wayfair grow from a 6,000 people company to an 18,000 people company. And so I work
Mm,
on products that help improve the efficiency of hiring, the rate of hiring, and the quality of hiring.
got it. And how long have you been at Wayfair, Shivank?
I've been at Wayfair for more than a year now.
Okay, got it. Got it. Awesome. Well, and now we know a bit about you. Why don't you tell us a bit about, you joined Intentional Product Manager. For you, what was the life and day-to-day before you joined the program?
Right. So I think for me, it was a bit of all over the place. What can happen when you're new to the product manager role is, especially when you're new to an organization, I feel you're learning a number of things and you don't have your house in order effectively. And so you're going around meeting people, you're doing tons of different meetings with different teams. And you're not really sure about where your priorities lie. You're not really sure about whether you have a good hold of exactly what's happening within the organization and what's expected of a product. And so what that can do is that you're saying yes to almost everything because you're trying to ensure that you have a full view of what's happening within your organization or your team as far as your product exposure is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a result, you might be meeting a lot of people, you might be learning a lot of things, but you might not actually be getting a lot of results. And the reason behind that being that you spend most of your time just in meetings instead of actually strategically building long-term products.
Yeah, got it. Got it. So, that was before Intentional Product Manager. Now, you've been through the program. Tell me, what are the big picture changes you've made that really stand out for you since you've been part of the program and graduated?
I think for me, one of the biggest ones has been the way how I manage and how I plan as far as meetings are concerned, especially. So let me
Yeah,
start with that. I think I've definitely tried to reduce the number of meetings I do. That's the first and foremost. If you can take care of something with a short note, is probably better. Maybe if you write a document, that saves everyone time, versus if you're doing a meeting for everything, you're really wasting everyone's time. So I think that has been one big change. But then coming to what happens within a meeting, I think what was happening before the course was that I was doing a lot of meetings, but you wouldn't necessarily come out with actionable steps. And that's because if everyone's coming into the meeting with sort of a passive role, you
yeah,
don't really have a lot of engagement that happens as far as actionable roles are concerned or actionable steps are concerned across the meeting. And so you might have everyone on board as far as communication is concerned, but what you
yeah,
haven't really done is, okay, what do next steps look like? What do we do to ensure that this doesn't happen again, or what do we do to ensure so that if such a situation arises, how do we manage it in the future without having to do another meeting for this again? And
yeah,
so I think how that has fundamentally changed is that I've become very directional as far as meetings are concerned. I've tried to ensure that I'm trying to lead those meetings, and B, there are very specific outcomes from those meetings so that we don't have to do three meetings to get one thing done.
yeah, yeah. Got it, got it. So you mentioned that that's a first big picture change you drove. What's been the impact of that for you?
I think just the amount of things that I've been able to get done. I think one way you can gauge your success in the job is how many different things are you actually responsible for now versus what you were for maybe 6 months ago before the course, let's say.
Right.
And I think that has been reflected in the way that I've been progressing through the job. So initially, I was just working on one product. Now I'm working on multiple different products. I'm managing multiple different stakeholders from different teams, and so I think you're able to gauge your success if you're able to see that the company trusts you with more different initiatives and more different things, versus
Yeah.
if you're still just working on one product, or if you're still just working on, let's say, one feature for a long period of time. You're probably not making as much progress as you would probably hope to. And I can very much feel that over the past few months.
Yeah, like increased scope of responsibility for you.
Yeah.
Really, really awesome to hear. Um, Now, that sort of improving meetings, which I'm always super passionate about talking about that, even though most people consider it as kind of a boring subject, kind of something that they would rather avoid. Um, Tell me more, like in terms of habits and day to day, like what has changed for you?
Right. So I think if I could summarize the difference between the before and after, I would place it as being planful and you managing your job and what you want out of it instead of the job managing you, which is something I think you start the course with. And I feel that very strongly. And the reason I say that is that previously, for example, my calendar, effectively what I was doing was not really in my control. And so you would feel you were getting a lot of done, but what you were really doing was a lot of busy work. And so for you to actually move the needle, you need to be in control of your calendar and how you're spending your time.
Right.
And so I think the most central aspect for me for this course at least was that I was able to become a lot more planful about what creates value, where should I be spending time as a product manager, and where what things do I need to be saying no to so that I'm able to create that time. And so I think that has really helped me a lot because I've been able to say no in places where I feel that, hey, I think this is something we can maybe put off for later, or maybe there's something that someone else can manage, and then I can take that time out and actually work on products that the organization would actually benefit from. And so I think that is something that has significantly changed.
Got it. A lot of product managers struggle with saying no. How did you manage to do that?
So I think it's not easy. I think one of the classes that we have in the intentional product manager course is about managing relationships. I think your capacity to say no is really dependent upon the trust that your stakeholders have in you. If you keep saying no to everything, you're going to annoy everyone. So you need to balance that. You can't say no all the time, but you need to first engender that trust in your own work, that you're saying no for the right reasons, and if you're saying no to this, then there must be something else that is more important that you're saying yes to. And so
Mm.
I think it starts with trust. If you're able to build that trust with your stakeholders, it becomes easier to say no. If you say yes to everything, it's going to be really difficult to say no and build that trust.
Yeah, it's very interesting you say that because, like so many times, it's about negotiating your schedule, right? Negotiating what you say yes to versus not, and those relationships are so important. So much easier to negotiate when they trust you.
Yeah. I think one more thing that I think was on the course was just coming back to the whole planning part, what I wasn't doing before and what I'm doing now. So internally, there were a lot of organizational changes. I didn't have a manager at the time when I had signed up for this course. Now I do. And so things have become a lot more planful as a result of that. Things have sort of taken care of themselves. And now what's happened is that we actually have a really good roadmap, which we're using as a way for prioritizing what to do and when. And so it becomes a lot easier when you have things which are visible, which you can show that okay, this is a 4 to 5 quarter long roadmap. This is the cost and this is the effort required for each of these things. And these are the trade-offs required if you want us to do A, B, C over D, E, F. I think you cannot actually have those conversations unless you're planful enough to have something centralized like that. And
Right.
so I would say that is very necessary if you want to say no to some of these things.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, it's not just about saying no, but clear about what you're saying yes to and why that's important.
Yes.
Cool. Cool. So, in terms of your career, what would you say has been the impact of intentional product manager? And it's one of the questions I get often from people, and so everyone would love to hear that from you.
Yeah. So I think it's definitely changed the way I look at the product manager job. So, I'm someone who's still pretty early in his career. I have product management experience at a couple of companies now, one in India, which was a startup that got acquired by Amazon, and then one here at Wayfair. And so I think I'm at a phase where I'm still learning what the art of product management is, and so which is why I feel probably the impact on me has been a lot greater versus someone who's probably a veteran would have a different sort of a learning from the course. And so for me, it's been a fundamental shift in the way that I look at the job, and I consider what needs to be done. So I think what a lot of product managers that I speak to really get annoyed about is that, oh, you have to spend so much time speaking with people, getting everyone on board, just so that you can actually get to the job that you want to get done. Versus now that the way I look at it, I think it's a more strategic and planful role. And so once you've sort of made peace with it, once you've understood that, hey, this is what the role requires, and if you behave in a certain way, if you have certain habits, it'll become a lot easier for you to get to the end point. Versus if you're struggling against what your perception of the role is and what you're actually doing, I don't think you actually enjoy the day to day of being a product manager.
Yeah, that's very insightful. What you said about there's like almost a false perception that you're going to come in and you're going to suddenly be building all these strategies and like come up with a compelling vision and everything, while the day to day is so different.
Right. I think
Yesterday.
sorry, there's that famous adage that product managers are the CEO of the product, but without any of the authority of a CEO. So I think that's completely true. Which then should make you question that. All right, so if you have none of the authority, what's required to get things done?
Yeah.
And I think that's what you need to make peace with. It's that you have to get your stakeholders on board. You have to show value, and you have to. I keep going back to this again. You have to have trade-off discussions frequently. I think something that I have observed in my products is that having trade-off discussions consistently, even during the life cycle of the product, is as essential as having one at the beginning when you're actually conceptualizing the product. And so unless you have these discussions constantly, because what are trade-offs if not saying no to things? If you try to build too much for everyone, you end up with a product that doesn't solve problems for anyone. So I think it's really important that despite the fact that market forces will want you to build a lot of things, and as soon as possible, you have to be efficient. You have to say no, and you have to have these trade-off discussions as frequently as possible. Otherwise, either you deliver too late and the opportunity is gone, or you deliver something that no one wants to use, and now you don't want to be in either of those situations.
Agreed. Totally agree. Yeah, it's it's funny also when you mentioned about early stage in your career versus late. What I found interesting is that you might think that early stage PMs benefit from intentional product manager, but what the later stage PMs, I think some of them were in your class, what they mentioned to me was that they sort of had gone into a rut of bad habits and it was like a reset. So it's like, we all, like me in my life, just keep coming back to basics and doing the basics with excellence. So much of that is just getting that excellence there.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you need someone, or maybe a course like this, to sort of take you away from that day-to-day experience. As you mentioned, you can definitely get into a schedule where things are working on auto, and you're not really questioning how things are flowing. So there's this whole cycle of Monday to Friday, and you think, all right, I'll think about this next Monday, and then you just keep repeating that over and over again. And so days turn into weeks, into quarters, and you forget that well, I actually need to change how things are. And so unless you have some sort of an external authority that's sort of telling you, hey, maybe you should question how you're approaching things, maybe you should question what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, it can be very easy to fall into that rut. And I'm someone who definitely believes that you have to keep questioning whether what you're delivering is the best, and if there is a way of actually improving that. So I keep signing up for courses like these, and I really find it to be very, very useful. So thank you, Shobit.
It's awesome. No, it's been a pleasure having you here. Last question for you. Anything surprising? Like anything you did not expect from the course and were like, okay, this sucked or this was great.
Right. Yeah, I think so. For me personally, as I mentioned earlier, just going back to the fact that I'm still a very young PM, we had this cohort of product managers with a variety of experiences across the country. I think what I found really interesting was that you had some really senior PMs, but who were also encountering problems which for example, me, was encountering a lot earlier on in my career. So I think that insight was just amazing. The fact that you're not alone, you're not just your experience or your organization, or the way you're doing things, that necessarily may not be what is causing issues. It's probably the way product management as a discipline exists, and how you need to approach it, that needs to be changed or tweaked. And so I think having that confidence that uh, regardless of where you are or which company you're working for or what team you're on, etc., you're going to face these challenges, and you need to have basic principles in place to deal with those challenges. And if, let's say, you're facing a challenge, it's not like you're the only one. If you approach other product managers who have more years of experience, they'll probably be able to share insights about, well, actually, this is happening there as well, and this is how I'm dealing with this. I think that was really beautiful.